I'm telling you, man. Ba-da-ba-ba.
Hey, fam. Welcome back to yet another amazing episode of I'm Telling You.
I am telling you.
Dude, I love the definitive answer on that. Yeah, as always, I'm Philly D.
Mr. Gemini.
Clickety clack a fact checker, Miss JD.
Yeah, we always love starting our program by please reach out to us, continue that conversation, hit us up, let's chat, let's talk. This is what we're here for. This is the whole purpose behind it. But yeah, you can either get all three of us at the humans at itystudios.com. Yeah, that's THEHUMANS at itystudios.com. Or we also have all of our individuals. Yeah, Gemini, go ahead.
GEMINI at itystudios.com.
See, he finally did it. Yeah, bleep, Lord, bleep, the robot is fixed. Yeah, as well as Philly D, PHILLY at itystudios.com. And Miss JD.
Oh, what? You can find me at MISSJD at itystudios.com.
Yeah, as well as, you know, yeah, dude, she has earned the right to have her own email for a long time. She works for High Fives. We mad appreciate her, which, you know, speaking of mad appreciation, roundguysbrewery.com. Yeah, you at home know we have been informally sponsored by, influenced by, so, you know, given.
Definitely influenced by. Yeah.
Oh, massively influenced by. But yeah, roundguysbrewery.com. They are phenomenal. They care about their community so much so they have their own soda, their own seltzers, as well as beer, as well as if you go ahead and hit them up, roundguysbrewery.com. Yeah, roundguysbrewery.com. Yeah, they can, they will ship. You can find out what they got. If you're local enough, you can swing by and check out their pub. It is phenomenal. But yeah, roundguysbrewery.com. They usually have QR codes, which means they're going to hook you up on free shipping. So you're just paying for the beer and it is coming your way. So yeah, you can say thank you to roundguysbrewery.com for that one. Yeah, as well as first-time listeners, this is a 30-plus year friendship of me and this awesome guy over here doing stuff since we were kids. Just having
me. I didn't know you were.
Yeah, because no matter what I say, it's all out of love.
All out of love, jackass.
And that's what we do here. Yeah. So, I mean, we do dad jokes, movie quotes. We pick on each other. People don't know if we love each other, hate each other, want to be friends or more than friends. Yeah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Let him talk.
Yeah. But yeah, we talk about anything, everything, all things. And we are here for the raw, organic conversation. And like I said earlier, it's about promoting that we all have this conversation. That's why I said you got to hit us up email wise because we want you to continue that conversation.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, as well as we also do super awesome stuff like have guests in the house.
Yes,
oh my goodness. By all means, could you please introduce yourself to the people? Yeah, if you want a shameless plug, whatever you want. Yeah.
Plug away.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rhonda Rife, and I'm honored to be on the show. It's been fun so far, so this was pretty exciting. I'm glad I reached out to you to be a guest. And if they want to get in touch with me after listening to more about what I do, the easiest way is rhondarife.com. It's RHONDAREIF.com. And from there, you can reach all of my different information and contact things and things like that. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that. And just to let people know, like, as we're talking, like, I don't know if we're going to talk just about numbers or holistic stuff or spirituality, but probably all the above, that I do sessions and healings and charts for people. And I mean, I've even had a stockbroker who's had me on retainer to analyze the names of the stocks and things like that. So, you know, a new address, a new job change, what day do you want to take the test? You know, those kinds of things. Schedule a C-section. What does that mean? What's the name, the date of the day you got married? What does that mean? Like, I do all of this kind of really interesting stuff. And then I do distance healings and stuff too. So if you reach out to me and you scroll down on the very bottom of my webpage, rhondarife.com, you can fill out a form to get on my mailing list, and I won't bother you, but you can do that and send me a private email. That anyway, you reach out and tell me that you saw me on this podcast, and I will have something special for anybody who books some kind of a session or anything like that. I'll be giving away a free quantum healing frequency session to anybody who books some other kind of session, whether it's a healing session or to have their chart done or whatever it is. So, but you have to say that they saw me on your show. So
I was going to say we can definitely find a way to hook you up on that. Put it in the description, links, blah 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 blah. Like we will find a way to make that happen. So, but you in the green room, we touched on so many things. And so, I'll tell you what, how about this? For those who didn't catch the green room, if you could give the people at home like a 30-second elevator pitch, the difference between numerology and the number systems, that Pythagorean, like you were saying earlier, can you give us like a 30-second difference on the two?
Well, it'll have to be 33 seconds, but I will try. So.
Double threes.
You were watching the green room, you get that joke. Yeah, dude.
So what people don't realize, I'm a numerist. I love the study of numbers. I love numbers. I've been involved with numbers my whole life. And everything has a frequency, a vibration. Numbers are the only universal language. And people will say, oh, well, music's the universal language. Well, yeah, but music is numbers. And Pythagoras, actually famous mathematician, 500 BC, discovered that you can reduce everything to a mathematical equation or vibration or a number. And from that, 0 through 9, and then 11, 22, and 33, you can actually know the personality, the characteristics, the outcome, the frequency, the vibration, the intent, whatever you want to call it, of that particular date, time, place, name, person, latitude, longitude, all of those kinds of things. And so the difference between what I do, because I don't consider myself a numerologist, what I do is I studied Pythagorean mathematics. I've gone way back because Pythagoras had a school. And I looked at all of the kinds of things that he did. And numerology didn't exist until about 1300 years after like AD. So, we're talking 1800 years after Pythagoras found out all of this information. And then they cherry picked it. So on a thing that's, maybe 1,000 miles long of things that Pythagoras found, there's, numerology is maybe like a quarter of a mile of it. So, it overlaps. It definitely overlaps. Okay. But it's way more involved than that. And it's very ancient. It's been in pretty much every culture, and every culture has numbers or some kind of thing with that too. So there'll be some overlap. It's just that this is way deeper, way more complex, and it doesn't mean it's harder. It's just a whole new way of looking at numbers as an actual language.
Well, and you said that exactly language, because I coined that in the green room, where I was like, dude, you're not, it's not something that you're speaking numbers. You're literally speaking a different language. It's this whole other almost, encoded information that's at its core above, or below everything else, where all of what we're perceiving is on, a different level. It's outside of that.
Would you say you're not seeing numbers, you're seeing blonde, brunette, redhead.
I gave it the Matrix reference, where it's like you're seeing like the coding, like the information as it's transpiring. One of the things you said earlier in the green room, and it brought up a question to me, the idea of breaking the English alphabet, A through Z or 1 to 26. You were giving them modified numeral representation. So I'm assuming it's like 1 through 9, and then 1 through 9. And then, so once you get to 9, the next letter starts 1 again. Is that how you designate its number, or?
Okay. So if you were going to do, numerology, they have a chart where, A is 1, and then I is a 9, and then it would start over again with J being a 1, because it's the 10th letter of the alphabet. So, right. And Z is an 8, which is 2 plus 8 is 2 plus 6 is an 8. So 26 is an 8. So yeah, you can do that. But then, you have to take it a step further, because if you were going to do the name Lee, and you were going to, take a look at that, and you did Lee, and you did it the short way, you would come up with it being actually a 13, which is a 4. But if you did it the long way, where you looked at L, where it's actually going to be the 12th letter of the alphabet, plus E is 5 and E is 5, then you're looking at that it's going to be a 22, and 22 is a master number. So you want to always look for the master number, because that is, again, where our life lessons are, where our life path is, where that is. So when I do somebody's chart, I don't just do it one way. I do it both the long way, and I do all my calculations by hand. This is not something I just put into a computer generated thing, because I believe in working with the numbers, kinesthetically, as I'm writing them down and looking at them, and I can see them, like I'm combining all the different learning styles, the touch, the hearing, and the actual visual. And then I can get more information off of it as well. Sometimes it's intuitive, but you definitely want to do that, because somebody who is a 4 is going to have a different vibration than somebody who is a 22. So it's going to be different. They'll be similar, but they'll be different. So you have to look at it that way too. And then there's a whole healing session that I do where there's 26 different energy gate locks on the body, and each one goes to a different letter of the alphabet. So if you were to come to me and you didn't know what kind of session you wanted, or we weren't having luck with something, like shiatsu or massage or Reiki or whatever, I'd say, hey, let's lay down and let's do this particular thing, lay on my table, and we'll spell out literally the numbers in your chart or the letters in your name or things like that. And then it can actually then be a specific healing frequency session for just you and your particular numbers. So to answer your question, yes, A is 1 and Z is 26. But
what would that
you got to look at it in more than just one little, like you don't want to just look at the simple side, where it's 1 through 9.
What would that particular healing procedure be called? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, actually, there's you would want to take a class on Jin Shin Jitsu if you're interested in learning it yourself. That you would actually go. That they use that, but they use other things too. Like they take in the layers of the chakra and shiatsu and energy pulses and all those kinds of things. But it's a pretty interesting thing with that too, and it's ancient Japanese.
So I'm, while you said yourself, you're very much a mathematician, like you're just a numbers person, like you've always been that way. And I myself am very much in that fashion, but I'm more on the pattern side. So I don't so much see it as a specific number and its representation. I see them all as their own representations and, the correlation in between it. But, so talking about the alphabet, the Z, if you did the A through, and then you go 1 through 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 9, you said Z is an 8, which it's also the 26th letter, which 2 plus 6 is 8. So I found that kind of fascinating that it's like, wait a minute. So on two different scales of looking at it on a numerical level, Z is still an 8.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, but there's more. She's saying there's more to it than that.
But that's what I'm saying, though. But still,
it's like the old math and the new math.
Well, I know, but still, that's what I'm saying. In that same representation, you're literally looking at the same letter from two different kind of representations, and they're still the same thing.
Yes, it's an 8, but it's also 2 and 6.
I get it that there's a deeper level to it, but I'm talking about on that that simplistic, hey, do you want to talk about a coincidence, people? That seems odd. Again, it's those little things of that ironic component. Because you said it yourself before we even turn on the mics, where life is filled with irony, and that's really what it is. I think that's goes to the yin and the yang. You have to have that irony. You need to have two sides. It seems like it's going to be, but in actuality, this is what it turns into. To me, that's irony. It's perception versus actual. And sometimes the actual is the actual or the perception and vice versa. And when you would expect it, it's not when it should be, or, vice versa. So it's also the human dynamic or the emotional component where all of a sudden irony is just very comical and whatever side it comes out to.
Well, then.
I'm just saying. I always found, but that's what I'm saying. I've always found, this life, the way it's represented, to be just ironic. It's of course it's supposed to be like that. That makes absolute sense. And you're just well, that's the complete opposite of what you would expect. Well, duh, we're built in a world of irony. Of course it's going to be like that. So whether it is or it's the opposite, it's no matter what, to me, it's still very ironic. And I think that's the human dynamic, or, the yin and the yang of us being these feeling beings, these, these ironic tactile components.
And the yin and yang doesn't represent 2, it represents 3, because the line between is the shen.
What's the connector?
Which is...
Yeah, you got 1 point, 2 point, and then the one in between.
It's the center of the caduceus.
You're the center of the caduceus.
And there's your 369 thing again.
Right.
Yeah. Well, again, going back to the, but going back to the green room conversation, the temperature I set in my car, my house, the volume I listen to on my TV or my, not a joke. It has to be some form of 3, 6, or 9,
That's true. I won't set my thermostat on 71 because 7 plus 1 is 8, and 8 is lessons of money.
Yeah, no, I do 72, 69, 66, 75, 81.
Okay, wait.
Laugh when I do it.
So going back to something that we talked about in the green room, I had asked about the 1,000 hertz frequency and how it translates into numerical math. So you had explained that zeros mean protection.
Yes.
And then 1 means Did we get to discuss?
It's new beginnings. One is new beginnings. That's where you start.
But how does 1,000 break down to like, what is the 1,000's vibrancy, frequencies, break down to numerically? Because it's 5 numbers.
It's a 1. 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0.
Okay. So we're not, okay.
Also 4 numbers because it's 1 1 and 3 zeros. 3 plus 1 is 4.
Yeah.
You said that earlier too. You're like, I'm like, how is this 5? That's 10,000. 10,000 would be 5. I know you don't get paid to add shit up or pronounce shit either. We're aware.
I'm just remembering the whole correlation with 144,000, which really.
Well, that's why I was thinking instead of being a 1, maybe it was like the 4 because there's 4 numbers. And then I was like, okay, but no. How does this work? So I'm trying like in my head to figure this all out.
People will ask me too, like when I add up their number and I'll say to them, like, well, you're a 7. They're like, well, how can that be? I only have 4 letters in my name. Like, it's just a different way of looking at how numbers are. You know, you have to look at it as it's a code. It's almost like a secret code or a hidden code or a message that's specifically for you. You know, and your name, you know, I believe that we pick our name before we come to Earth. And that tells us then what our life lessons are going to be, what our path is going to be, what are going to be our interests or our passions or what things we're supposed to learn, what our karmic debt is. You know, all of that's revealed in your name or the letters in your name or the absence of certain numbers in your name. So it's kind of just to me, it's kind of like a secret code that once you learn the language, you know it.
That's very interesting that you said that in that correlation, because when you were speaking, you were talking about like certain letters being like the certain letter of the alphabet, but then also having significance with like another number because of its letter. And then like you were saying, you do it from both sides. And then I started thinking of one of the letters that you use is in my name, J. It's JD. So J, it's the 10th letter of the alphabet, but it restarted after I and became 1. So it's a 1, but it's also a 10. And then my birthday is 11/10. So I'm just like, oh, I was like, this is all connected. So like, as you're saying these things, like, I'm like, oh, tell me more, please. So.
And the chart, the 1 through 9, it's just basically kind of a cheat sheet for people who can't add a lot of numbers. And it's easier than having to add like 10 plus 12 plus 14 and whatever. So but that's why I always do it the long way too, because otherwise you'll miss the master numbers a lot of times if you just do it the shortcut way, which is 1 through 9. Because no matter how you do it, the 12th letter of the alphabet is always going to be a 3. That's the L, you know. So you're going to look at it as a C, L, and U. Those are all going to be 3s, you know, because U is the 21st letter of the alphabet. So, you know, it's going to be one of those things where that's going to be the same. But it's just an easier way to do the math. And then if you find out that you could possibly have a master number, then you want to do it the long way. So
Dog really wants to be on this show so bad.
Oh my God, he was so quiet the whole time we were on break too. So, but my 2 little ones got in a spat underneath the table, and then he heard it. And now he won't shut up. I'm very sorry. I even have the door open to the outside, but I apologize.
That's all right.
But yeah, no. All right. So let's go back to Lee. Right. All right. So if we do the short math, like you said, because now if we carry it as a 1 through 9, L becomes a modified number plus E still being 5 and 5. Well, no matter what, you add up either one of those, you know, L being the 12 plus the 4 and the 4, or the alternate, it still equals a 4.
Well, if you do it as L being a 3, it's a 13. That's not a master number, so you reduce it down. But if it's an 11 or a 22 or 33, you do not reduce it any further.
Well, yeah, but again, that's why I'm saying, like, the combination mathematically from 2 different perspectives, it still dwindles down to a single number of 4. There's more information, like you said, in the long form versus the short form, but regardless of the 2, you still come back to that same number. Like I said, you know, same thing with like the Z being an 8 or 2 and 6 makes 8. It's still the same thing. There's more information on the, you know, like you're saying, the longer form, but it's, you know, whether you're, that's why to me, I'm more of a pattern guy. So when I see those kind of coincidences where it's like, yeah, there's minimal information or a lot of information, but no matter which perspective you're looking at, we still derive at the same number or the same conclusion. It's like, well, What does that say? So, there's more than just a coincidence to me in that.
And that's the math of it. That's the math of it. That math is very logical. That's why when people are like, oh, that's woo-woo, or that's foo-foo, or like, oh, you believe in that weird stuff? It's like, it's math. It's math. Like, it's logical. It's down there is, that. But I want to point out that sometimes doing it the shortcut way also generates master numbers, and the long way would not. So it's not always the same answer. It's just that if you do a name and it comes out to an 11, it comes out to a 2, a 4, or a 6, you will have to do it both ways, because there's no other way. If it comes out to a 7, you're not going to get an 11, 22, or 33 out of a 7 combination. So
that's what, like you said, you don't just do one, you do as many as you can. Like if you can derive to as much information and then find a correlation or, coincidence or a collective of, guaranteed, like, hey, it's all pointing towards this. It kind of really does. So, I mean, you're doing more than just like, well, here it is. It's not a quick little, like, I'm going to see what it's about. You're doing some research. Yeah, you're throwing some extra time, energy, and effort, which, going back to the earlier conversation about what intent is, it's that energy. You're putting this, intent or energy into everything you're doing. It's like, I'm going to be as mindful as I can. I'm going to give you as much, helpful information. And it also sounds like you're not trying to give any kind of preconceived notion. You're just like, this is what the data says. Like, I'm not trying to tell you what to see it or perceive it as. I'm just telling you what all of, this is trying to tell you. Like, here it is.
Sets of data comes to the same conclusion.
Oh, but that's also a part of the human dynamic is, we're here to be tactile beings. We want to perceive, we want to touch, taste, smell, so when you get information, it's up to you to decide what you're doing with it, whether you want to learn from it, accept it, not accept it, so on and so on. I mean, but that's me. That's why I love the human experience, because we have that choice. All of this stuff is at our fingertips, like literally, figuratively, spiritually, however you want to perceive it. It's up to us whether or not we do anything with it. And I think, to me, that's the biggest test or component to what we're here for, is that human experience. It's up to us to decide whether or not we want to deal with data or information or have that experience with that. And what you want to do with it is what you want to do. That's why, again, but when you reached out to me and I started looking into you, I was just like, oh, wait a minute. This is what we talk about. However, there's a little bit more, and we love getting those, bigger, more in depth, kind of components. And you were kind of stressed. You're like, oh my God, is it gonna be like, dude? No. We want to have this free flowing conversation of just like, well, what is that? What does that mean? I mean, let's be as off the cuff as we can be, and I think that's having the like you were saying, you can't predict. However, there is a high rate of consistency that it's like, once you actually start to see this as a language or perceive it as another way to just understand things, there's information to be had here. And it's literally free information.
It is, as far as for the universe to tap into it from the universe. Don't call me and want free information. I'm not 411. That was a couple of days ago. So.
Well, but going back to the whole like Tesla and Einstein together, tapping into what we would call the Akashic records or the ether, or there's within the energy, frequency, vibration, from Tesla and Pythagorean, or Pythagoras and all that, like there's extra stuff here that we're not tapping into. And it's not that we can't perceive it. It's just that we're not built within that system of perception.
And also, just so you know, that for centuries, it was kept hidden from us because the people that were in power were afraid that if the common person had this basic knowledge, that they would either misuse it, abuse it, or they would lose their own power, whether that's a government or a social group or a culture or a religious organization, a government, all the above is that, it's been hidden from us. Like we didn't understand because we weren't allowed to have that information, but it's out there and it's been there since the creation of time. And, or maybe time isn't the right analogy, just since the beginning. But it's just how it comes to us.
Yeah, but this is why I love the any and all conversations where you get into perception, because we as 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional beings, That's the construct that we're built in for perception. So it's also the language that we have to use because it's the experience that we have. It's the understanding that we have. So, while what we're discussing definitely goes well outside the idea of 3D, 4D, we still have to find a way to express it within that because, that's our understanding. You can't explain to a child what color is without showing them color. And so you have to have some form of a construct or a system so that you can show that differentiation so that you can explain what these things are. So, while it almost seems intuitive or counterproductive to,
which is also a frequency range.
But it seems counterintuitive or counterproductive to put a signal or signifier on it. But unfortunately, that's the system in which we communicate. That's the language we understand as humans or entities that have been habituated to 3D and 4D living. So we have to have that mindset, unfortunately, but. But I agree with you because again, what we're talking about transcends the ever living crap out of that. But how do you explain what's outside of 3D and 4D without actually understanding what 3D and 4D and outside of that is?
That's what religion's all about.
Well, but that's what any ism is about.
Trying to find
I wouldn't say religion. I would say ism.
Well, I mean, just trying to you come to an understanding. This is one thing I've been struggling with for years. It's like if you're that person that has an experience where you have, if you want to say, union with God, to express that in something so archaic as words,
it's like an injustice.
There's no way to try and express that, and I think in a lot of ways, mathematics, it's
impeccable.
It's easier, impeccable is a good word. It's I think more direct.
That's what the impeccable is. When you do it's succinct.
And one thing I would say is there really a right or wrong answer? Because it's kind of in how you see it too, right? So you're going to perceive it a certain way because you've been tuned into the numbers for so long. But you might say something, and I see a series of numbers too that stands out to me. It doesn't mean that that's not important because you didn't point it out to me. Because it's my perception of that might change my view on something. It's no less tangible. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, so I'm going to switch hats here for a moment and go into my communications background. So communication is, first of all, because we talked just a little bit about Adolf Hitler in the green room. The entire communications as a major did not exist until after World War II. And the reason that it was actually created was because our government wanted to know why Hitler had so much power and influence and how it was with his communication. Now, we did talk about the 440 frequency, which the government didn't necessarily come up with. But the thing is that that's why there was a study then of communication, is because they wanted to understand what happened with that. Now, step forward, and actually, we only perceive about 7% of communication verbally. It's the other 92 to 93% that we interpret non-verbally. Tone, frequency, when we see things that are like colors or numbers or actually body language, all of those are nonverbal. And to me, numbers are nonverbal. And we only operate with about 10 to 11% of our brain that we understand what happens. So that other 90%, is actually probably processing all of the subconscious nonverbal communication. And nonverbal communication has been proven test after test, research study after research study, to be more authentic, be more reliable, and actually be more truthful. So that's why you can do that. So my point with the numbers is why I want to go on the shows and talk about this, is because I just want people to all of a sudden have an awareness that it's another way to communicate. It's another nonverbal communication. So absolutely, Gemini, I would want you to now say, oh my God, like that number, 42 is showing up everywhere now. What does that mean to me? And again, I will tell you though, that we need to take and look at what Pythagoras discovered, what the basic meaning of each number is, but then it might be different for you. So like, for instance, an 11 to me might mean something completely different than an 11 to you, but it will still be related to spirituality. Does that help? But
like
the whole point
1111.
Yeah.
When it's pointed out to you, you'll notice it more in your mind. Like you'll catch it on the clock more.
Because what you've done, what you've done is you've transferred that part of your subconscious brain to interpret that consciously now. And that's basically what I do is I bring that awareness. I hope that now people look at numbers and go, oh, what's that mean?
Yeah. Can I ask what your favorite number is?
Well, so my perception and at least from my experiences of what has been offered to me as far as knowledge or experience, I gravitate at least recently more towards taking perception or understanding or that a deeper communication language kind of thing with animals above numeric, but in conjunction with. So, I mean, I personally have been more so I want to be in tune what's going on with around me. So whether it's I'm looking at is the clock 11:11 or did a deer just cross my path while I was having this thought? And that's why I think a lot of what we're saying kind of goes back to that statement of intent or energy, which really just begs the question of, all right, so if we can call, energy intent, well, then what do we want to associate, frequency and vibration with? Like as I coined it with you earlier, you're speaking a language. Well, if we can take, each one of those components, frequency, energy, vibration, and consider each one of those their own language, where all three of them together make their own language. I mean, I feel as though that's what the universe is what's resonating on. So it's not one, the other, or it's literally all of them as a whole.
Yeah. And I just want to point out that when you say frequency, energy, and vibration, to me, that all means the same thing, but that's also using kinesthetic, auditory, and visionary words to communicate the same thing. So that's going to help people that maybe don't understand, they're not on the same vibe. Well, no, because they're not an auditory kind of person. But when you say frequency, they can actually see lines and squiggle lines and things like that in their mind. And when you say energy, then you're thinking of feeling. What's that energy? Oh, is it warm? Is it, that kind of thing. So you're actually, again, connecting with that person to, Travi.
That damn dude. To me, that would be, the universe telling you, you're doing it. Yeah, keep speaking your piece. Yeah, it's it's an affirmation from the universe. We're on to something here. And that's why, no, you can't hear this. Redact it. No, shut your hole. We got to get this out of the dog.
The dog is affirming that this is
affirming while also redacting. That's the irony of life. That's what I'm saying.
But as you were saying,
the dog just keeps getting louder.
Yeah.
And he is in the kitchen with another dog, and the outside door is open. The porch is open. He's got plenty of water. He was fed. He just wants to be in here with me, and he just can't. He wants
to be a part of the party. I get that. We're having a good time. They can feel that. Animals are very much, to me, childlike. They're so innocent in their perception that they don't know anything other than just to ingest and react. They're so tuned in.
And unconditional love.
I would see, and this is what I hate the term unconditional. Very like Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi will not go to an anti-war rally, but he'll go to a pro-peace rally. To me, unconditional, you're talking about or a detraction. Inconditional, you're putting a position on it. You're talking about two negatives for one thing, which is just love. Because love, or true love as a further expression, but just love is unconditional because it's real love. All you need to get love, true, dude,
true love. First thing in Princess Bride. Sorry,
yeah, I know come on, that's what we do here. But that's why. So to me, the term unconditional is great, but it's not impeccable. To me, the term just love, that means unconditional. Because if you're going to tell somebody I love you, that means I accept you. I validate you. I see you. I appreciate you. I take you for face value. I see the energy, frequency, vibration, whatever your perception is, I see you for you. That is love. That's unconditional, but unconditional holds two wrongs don't make a right, but three lefts do.
Well, then I'm going to quote a sign at a store I saw. Love is a four-legged word.
Four-legged.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, I like that. That is pretty cute. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And it's a 4.
It's a 4. Hey, 4 is your angel number too, right? So,
yeah.
But that's why, Ron, this is why I love, again, you reached out to me and I started doing my research and I'm just like, dude, you're talking about something deeper than this while still looking at that surface value. So just like you said, earlier, you're doing multiple researches. So you're doing the long form, the short form, but you're also taking like anything and everything within that and finding the pattern in a sense with all of it. So you're speaking this language, but you're not making a exacting statement from a singular point. You're being very, scientific or logical. Like you're willing to say, hey, let's see what the data shows me, but also with the understanding that, hey, I'm going to give you the logistics, but you as a individual or a human who's having this tactile feeling experience, you yourself still has to interpret what that means for you.
Yeah, it is. It's logical. It's math. It's science. And people don't understand that that's part of it. And some of that is just because of people have morphed it to fit their own needs as well. So.
But I think that's very human, psychology, so while you were saying you had like MBA and like you got communications, I've done, my degree background is in business, but psychology and law and a few other, components that it shows the interconnectedness of us on a spiritual level, emotional level, physical level. Like there's more than one piece to us. So, I mean, while we want to see ourselves as 3 and 4D entities, there's emotion behind this. There's science behind it. There's feelings. There are so many more dimensions of understanding, even within this realm that we've been habituated to, that it's like, so I understand that we're going to perceive or understand things because that's what our program has been built into. All the while, like our bodies, our sensory systems have been ingesting all of this stuff. Like it's fully aware of these things. It's just what language are we speaking? What is our perception? What are we taking in or understanding as that frequency, energy, or vibration?
And I use the numbers 3 different ways. And I talk about this in my book that's going to be coming out. About the first way I look at it is confirmation. Like, I'm trying to make a decision or I'm wondering, whatever. And a certain number will come up. Like, for instance, the price tag on a sale. There was a new office I was looking at leasing. And when I got there, I was like, I don't know if I can afford it. And it was 1616. And 1s and 6s, when they repeat like that, mean don't worry about money. And I was like, okay. So that was my sign. That was like my confirmation of I'm on the right path, things like that. And so that's one way to use it. The other way is what we've mainly been talking about is information. It gives me information of what is a meeting that starts at 3:00 going to do that differs from a meeting at 7:00. Those kinds of things. What about my price if I charge 97 cents as opposed to 98 cents? And Kmart got into a lot of trouble with that because Walmart came out and everything was 99 and Kmart was 99. So they lowered theirs to 98. Well, the 8 looks like a dollar symbol to the subconscious mind. So everybody perceived that Kmart's quality was lower, but cost more. And so then what happened then is that, Walmart lowered theirs to 97 cents. And then, other places went to 94 cents. Well, 94 for a lesson of, being dependable and loyal and reliable. And it's a lot of hard work. So then there was all of these kinds of things. And people don't realize all of those things communicate with us at the subconscious level. So there's that kind of thing that happens. And so, if you wanted to price some kind of a workshop or something like that, then, we can take a look at it. What is that going to happen? And that's the third way that I use it is attraction or manifestation. So like, for instance, if I wanted to do a thing for people that were going to save the whales, I might charge $99 because that's greater good for the masses. Whereas if it's somebody who wants to learn about a spiritual retreat, I might charge $97 because that would be, the letter of spirituality. Whereas if you're looking at somebody who's a risk portfolio or you're wanting to sell them timeshares, it might be $95 because 5's the number about risk and change and travel. So all of these things, and marketers sometimes know this. it's just like presidents wear certain colors ties, and it communicates, a lot of things with the color of the tie that they're going to wear, whether they know it or their dresser knows it or whoever, it's communicating with us non-verbally. So there's a lot to it. Those are the ways that I use the numbers that I hope other people can use them too, that it's not just some kind of funky thing that, oh yeah, I'm a 5 and that's what this means,
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking about the Prince Charming price points where they ends in like 99. So it's like it tricks your mind to thinking that you're getting a sale because it's 1 penny less than $16. So you're like, oh, well, it's not 16, it's $15.99. And then you just touched on and then my curiosity was where it ends in like 99 and that breaks down to 3, if that had a significance in like grabbing your eye and attracting you towards that price point on a mathematics level versus like the marketing level.
I love how she was on this deep, I love how you were on this deep level of that. And meanwhile, the entire thought in the back of my brain is like, is that why Kmart failed? Is that why?
Well, they got into trouble. People stopped shopping there. Really,
but that's what I'm saying. So they inadvertently, from what you're expressing, that's why I was like,
but logically,
is that why that happened?
Logically, 98 is less than 99.
But from a mathematical,
it was perceived as being,
because we're talking about a different language. So while like the logic or the mathematical from a superficial value of what money is, I was like, oh, it's cheaper. But like you said, it perceived it as a cheaper value, even though it's like, so while it was like, hey, no, we're just 1 cent less for some reason on that mathematical level. Now it literally was perceived on a spiritual, emotional, physical level. It's like, no, but even though you go a couple cents under at 94, now all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like, wait, what?
No, it's hard work. It's hard work. Like you have to look at what it communicates with that. And so, each one of them pushes different buttons. The 99 is going to push our altruism button. We're going to think, okay, we need to do this. This is completion. I'm just going to be done with it. All of those kinds of things. But I'm telling you that if you saw something as 888, immediately you're going to think that it's expensive, because why? All those little places we go that it shows restaurant, hotel, whatever, $3 signs in a row means it's really going to be probably pricey. So that gives you the perceived notion that it is going to be pricey. So that's why, especially with the 8s, because 8 is lessons of money and 8 looks like a dollar sign. And
keep going. No, I'm telling JD to write this down. Keep going. You're good.
So that's what I'm telling you, is that you would be more willing to pay $9.99 than $8.88. You would, whether you think you would or not, because then you're going to start looking at the value. Oh my God, well, this is only $1 and something more. And it's coming from, Walmart as opposed to Kmart. They probably have the same supplier, but we're looking at it now, it's completely different. And so, I'm not saying that's the only reason that they failed, but Kmart was around for a really long time. And then all of a sudden, poof, and so you can't underestimate or undervalue how much these things press on our psyche and determine whether we're going to, it's just, why is there no 13th floor in most hotels? There's still a 13th floor. If there's a 14th floor, there's a 13th floor. Okay. But they don't have it because nobody wants to stay on it. And it's the same kind of thing. Are you going to check into room 666? It's like, it's one of those things where people aren't going to do that,
In newer buildings,
there's a long waiting list of people who do specifically want that.
Or
that could be too. I'm just saying that everybody has this sort of subconscious perception of what different prices see. You'll see somebody, if their total comes up to $6.66 in the store, they'll say, oh my God, add a pack of gum. Like, I'm sure you've been behind somebody that maybe something has happened, or you've been that person. It's just that these numbers influence us on our decisions a lot more than we want to admit or that we've ever thought about. And that's what I'm about, is just getting people to think. Just be, think.
But like you were saying earlier, where, mentally, as we've perceived it, or what our understanding is, our brain is only processing that 11, 12-ish% rate. Well,
right.
We know for a fact that sensory level, our brain's seeing all of that shit.
Right.
It's
right.
like, no. 90-ish% of that shit, they're like, nah, that's, but this goes back to a conversation where we've had before, where like DNA, 2% of our DNA is literally what makes us up. And there's this other, this 98% that we're just like, oh, that's junk DNA. Bullshit.
It's all useful.
Dude, I guarantee you that 98 is holding the key to everything. But, I mean, that's, going back to the perception of like 13th floor. That's why I said to you, I was like, dude, only the expensive, air quote, the expensive buildings are like, no. 12, 14, 15, it's, dude, but you all, but JD also said there's people that are like, yo, I want that 13th floor. But so within all that, Rana, so I don't know if you're
loves the number 13.
I don't know if you're a movie dude. 13 is that's my all-time favorite.
Lucky
but
number.
What if, so are you like a movie person at all? Have you seen the movie Being John Malkovich? Have you seen that?
No. What is
you
it?
know who John Malkovich is? The actor, John Malkovich?
No, I have not seen it. No.
But, I mean, so do you know the actor, John Malkovich, though?
I'd have to see his face to...
Oh, hey, JD, go ahead, hook us up. Yeah, throw us down. Yeah, get us some John Malkovich stuff. But
I probably don't know. I'm not a big movie person, but...
That's okay. You don't have to. The big thing that comes from the movie of Being John Malkovich, which him as an actor is, I mean, he's just a phenomenal individual, but there becomes this, almost of this internal depth cycle of going deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself, and others can do it. You yourself can do it. But the simple fact is that there's obviously some form of a cycle. There's this ability for information or ability, or this is why, why you said, and I agree with the idea that numbers are the language of what we deal with. You can get into those depths. You were saying you can do, hey, you can just look at it as a surface, like this, minor kind of like, oh, let's do a quick little, or you can take it and look onto a deeper level, but you can also take that, long form, short form, and couple them together. Now you get a whole nother perspective on it. So I mean, that's, we were talking about going into the rabbit hole of like, this, that, and the other, the 13th floor, but that's what kind of took it into the John Malkovich thing is.
I have to see that.
Yeah. So from a mental
Can you
level,
enable sharing?
Oh, did I not I swore I did that. I almost always.
Can I just say, so in Being John Malkovich, there's the entry into the movie is this guy gets a crap job where he's a filing clerk. But the filing floor is on the 13th floor.
Yeah, there you go. That's John Malkovich.
And it's only half height.
Well, yeah, it's because the 13th floor.
They made it so that they could have
it's not a full floor.
But then they use it for filing.
Yeah.
And these young filing clerks find out, what they discover is that there's like an organic looking sort of pit or hole behind one of the filing cabinets. And if you crawl down into it, you basically crawl into the body of John Malkovich. So you now get to witness what happens within
John Malkovich.
It's like being in his mind.
Huh.
And then when you get out of it,
dude, that's
for whatever reason, I think there's a time limit or something.
Yeah, it dumps you out in the Jersey Turnpike.
You get kicked out on the side of the Jersey Turnpike.
Which, I mean, that has its own thing in and of itself. But that's that thing though is, all of this comes back to perception, and this is what cracks me up is like, we look at it as like, oh, it's the 13th floor, but 3 and 1 is 4. 4, as far as we understand, is, an angelic number, or, a number that can represent
it's bad luck for the Chinese, actually.
Dude, I wanted to say this earlier when we were in the green room. This is something that cracks me up. So look at the Hopi language and the standard Chinese, which is Mandarin. If you look at the actual expressions, so Hopi and Mandarin are not exactly the same. However, in Hopi, the expression for moon or sun is the same word in Mandarin or Chinese as sun or moon. So while they're literally on the opposite side of our world or this earth, their expression for sun or moon, which is, day or night or, start or finish, they're literally the same, but reversed. This is no joke. So, you can look at, and this is why I love, why you said numbers is the language of this world, because that's true. Because, people won't say, oh, music is no. Music is still a mathematical representation. Like numbers is still a physical, music is an expression thereof this, construct. That's why, that's when you look at language, you're looking at two different things that are expressing the same thing. However, they're on completely opposite sides. So of course they're going to be opposite. It's like, well, how the hell did that happen? These are completely, I mean, you're talking literally on the other side of the earth. How did they communicate this? You know, going back to the green room, we're talking about like the 33rd line or the, you know, the way lines, you know, all that. Dude, how is this possible? How is it that we have these continents that by all physical definition of a technical construct, there's no way we could have had physical communication? How did they all the same relative idea? How did they all have the same thing that relatively, on a sense, could and should connect? Because when we were talking about how, you know, with the Great Pyramids, you're now going the extent thereof. Dude, now you're talking about a literal power line that we could encompass the entire Earth on a specific ley line or point. Like,
well, that's the Earth's heart chakra.
Well, but that's why I love the idea that you were talking about, where it's like, dude, we're talking about a physical, mathematical, logical, scientific expression that not only explains itself, but it also explains these very, you know, personal, almost like religious style experiences where there's so much coincidence or components to it. You're just like, holy, how is it you have this, you know, this epiphany or this energy that comes out of you? It's like, how is it that we can look at it from all of these different perspectives? They're all saying the same thing, you know, like to me, that's the irony of being human again.
And I just want to say that the communicating thing, they didn't communicate the way we communicate with phones and cell phones. Right. I think they were more advanced than we were. They didn't have to have a cell phone. They were telepathic, or maybe they could, you know, shape shift and move energetically, you know, and I was thinking that the Hopi tribe was supposed to have migrated from China, like all of the natives, everybody started, and then they migrated over into the Americas and stuff. And I can't remember if some of them came through South America or over just all of them through like North America. But, and it would make sense that they're on a different side of the earth. So the moon would be at a different place than the sun would be there. So it's like the mirror image. Like that just makes total sense. Exactly. And with that too. So, but yeah, and then that's why I think that they knew these things, because they did more of their instinctiveness. You know, it's just like now we look at the chakras, they're all related to endocrine glands and, you know, doing things. And, you know, that was back before we even knew that we had blood flowing through us, you know, let alone what a spleen would do, or, something, you know, more related with that. So I think that we've lost things the more that we've become, I don't want to say civilized, but the more we've become more grounded or more conforming to those sort of like human roles, we've lost parts of that sort of spiritual connection that we had, that sort of gave us that sort of conduit of information, which is probably that other 90% of our brain. And so, so there's just a way to kind of do that.
That we've actually become more masculine as a culture.
But see,
that if you go far back enough, it was actually a matriarchy as opposed to a patriarchy.
Yes.
So it was actually the woman that's
why I want to agree with what Rhonda just said. You know, while you said, I don't think so, but you said civilized. So, you know, and I'm going to air quote that civilized.
Right,
so as society have become more civilized, I feel as though we've become more disconnected. So, I mean, you were, but you know, that goes back to the conversation of like, how do you express within a 3D, 4D world, these things that are outside of it that we can't perceive because we're within the 3D, 4D world. It's like, but so you have to use that terminology. It's like, how do you, you know, represent that? So while you felt very hesitant to be like, hey, this is what it is, I want to agree with you. Like, I think that that's really what it is. As we become, again, more air quotes civilized, we've really become more disconnected. Like there's less spirituality behind it. There's less acceptance, or I guess, you know, faith. I want to use the word faith. Like we want to call science intelligence or fact, but all it really does is just it explains something on a reproducible level. And I've always used the analogy of like, hey, this is a cookie recipe. If you do this, and this, if you add all these things together on this timeline with this kind of heat and blah, 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 you get a cookie. Okay, cool. So if I follow these instructions, I get a cookie. Great. So to me, that's fact. That doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's correct. It just means that if you do this, you get that. Ipso facto. But to me, that's a very mathematical representation. And that's what this world really is. If you do this, then that. This is what's going to happen.
Like, when you talk about something like intelligence, though, I mean, you could point to like a rich, powerful CEO, and he's really intelligent in a materialistic way. Like, he knows how to earn money. He knows how
financially,
he knows how to have people, underlings under him, working to do his bidding and all this other stuff. But
creating an output, I think, is what you.
Right, in a physical manifestation, but at the end of the day, he goes home and he cries in his soup. He's miserable. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't have that emotional intelligence to back everything up. So, like, what's to say, like, and that's where I think more focus has been put in our civilization on the masculine side of the intelligence, where it's actually your money making capability or what you can produce, versus, can you walk into a room and make everybody feel a little bit better than they did before you got there? Like, do you have emotional intelligence? Do you have, and that's something I think that's invaluable, I mean, that multi-billionaire would look at you and go, dude, I'll put you on my payroll right now if you can make me feel the way I did in the last 20 minutes. What is intelligence? Like, what are we talking about when we talk intelligence? What are we talking about when we talk, like civilized? Well, when we can justify all kinds of killings and crazy behavior.
But justification is not rationalization. Well, justification is not logical or intelligent. It's just it's an understanding. I know what you mean, but
being civilized is not. I don't know. Like, how do we define that?
Well, that's why I said, like you were saying, becoming more civilized. We've become more disconnected. Like, that's really happened. I mean, Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to share something. It's not exactly on the topic, but maybe it'll help express it. Because what I switched it was to also, as I said, we become more grounded or maybe more earthbound. And people don't know this. I was involved about church bells. I was involved in a bell ringing thing where famous blues musician he traveled the world and he put together a piece of music where we got together. We have all these churches in our town, and we got together and we all had a certain thing that we had to ring at a certain time, and created like a concert of the downtown church bells. And then he had traveled to Russia and he'd gone to Germany and he'd gone other places. So then he set up a time when we would do it. So we would synchronize it around the globe. And of course, they were all doing it because they were musicians. And I just happened to get invited because they were, friends with me. And I said, well, you do understand that there's this thing about healing. And this would have been a long time ago, like it would have been more than 15 years ago. So I wasn't as into the sound healings and frequencies as I am now, but I did say that there's this whole sound healing and all of this kind of stuff. So what you're doing is actually starting this vibration that's going to go out and do that. And in my research, I discovered that the church bell was originally created not to call people to service, not to say that it was over. It's because back in those days, the church person, the priest, the reverend, or whoever, was actually the person who treated the body, mind, and spirit. It wasn't until we started around the 1700s that we started piecemealing those particular things out, where the body was one thing, the mind was one thing, and the spirit was another. And the church said, okay, you can't mess with the spirit. We'll let you have the body. And then pretty soon the body's like, okay, we'll take care of the body. We'll have another thing that's psychiatry that takes care of the mind. So that's part of how we became disconnected. But the church bell was originally designed to be rung before the service started, to bring the body, mind, and spirit energetically into alignment so that you would be more open and receptive to hearing the message. And then to complete it at the end, they rang it again to bring it all and cement it and concrete it, like for that body, mind, and spirit, so that your energy would be cemented.
Singing bowls.
It's funny because that sounds more Eastern, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And people forget that our Western basis for religion is based in Eastern theology.
Right.
Everybody forgets that.
And most doctors have medical weighted tuning forks in their pits. So they still use them for like audio tests
and broken
stuff
bones
like
too.
that. And and when they hit your knee, it's to get the vibration and stuff like that off you.
So I think maybe that's what's happened. Maybe we should say as we feel that we're evolving, we're actually not. It's almost like we're separating instead of us, instead of us
going back to the root.
More civilized. That's why I was like, dude, the more we become civilized, air quotes, we've become more disconnected.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Disconnected from the source or metaphysics or whatever you want to call this, or other dimensions, or whatever.
Well, it's a weird balance because you need to find individuation, right? You need to find
individuation. I love that.
You need to find who it is that you are, but who you are in the big picture.
Well, but so that's why I said earlier,
you have to be able to have one eye on one thing.
Well, just like you said with your backgrounds between business and communication, my background with, business psychology, it's like, dude, you have to have this understanding. The more you can, the more you can look at the representation of data, while it doesn't mean that that's true or right, it does predict certain things. Well, if we're going to take it down to a, quantitative level, if we're going to look at it from a mathematical or a numerical representation, it's like, well, then you have to look at it from a very data-driven perspective. And I think that's one of the things that, psychology really does, coupled with sociology or anthropology, is you're looking at the individual as an individual, but also the individual as a collective of all of these individuals. Which, in and of itself, like you have to take that into account. To me, it's like, I love the irony of being Vulcan. Vulcan is very logical of like what's best for all, not for just some or one. And here we are trying to be logical driven beings in a world where logic is pretty much, an antiquated idea, because we're going off of perception. It's not what the data says or what logic predicts. It's how do we feel about that? But you really kind of have to take it from the multiple view of like, we come from a construct originally as an idea of like, numerically represented, represented logic. It's very much based within what actual fact would be, not just what we perceive fact to be, but then coupled on top of the fact that it's like, we can perceive things. We have choice. We can accept or not accept. We can feel. So we really, like you're saying, from what you do is like, you take the long form, the short form, we have to take any and all information, perception, feeling, everything, because all of it is the same thing. There's just multiple ways to understand it or see it or perceive it. And to limit ourselves to just a singular perspective of that or perception within that, it really almost diminishes what we're here to do. You know what I mean? Like,
and how can you make decisions without all the information?
Right.
Why would you not want to have access to stuff that gives you, more information to lead you where you're supposed to go? It's like when I do people's charts, a lot of times they'll say like, oh, I'm a 7, like I'm not a master number, or I don't have this master number. I don't have, and I tell them like, we need all the numbers. We need all the numbers. So like the CEO who cries in his soup, like for whatever reason, that's the life he chose. Like he particularly said, when I come to Earth, I'm going to have this, experience, and I'm going to maybe help a lot of money and give people jobs or whatever. Or maybe I'm going to be a jerk and I'm going to exploit the people, whatever it is that he's doing. Maybe he has to pay back karma. I don't know. It's one of those things where we need all of those things, because if we only had the one, then, we would all just have that one mindset. Like we wouldn't have all the experience. Like it wouldn't be balanced. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I was going to say that the rich CEO that cries in his soup, he can still recognize truth when he sees it, though.
Yeah,
So, like, he sees the true intelligence of the man who can hold it together no matter what's going on, and he wants just to be around that person. So maybe he does still get it. Maybe he's fallen off the track, like you said, and he's paying for past karma through his actions now. But
maybe somebody else.
You could say, oh, how horrible is this? He's got a great life. It's like, no, he doesn't. He goes home and he's lonely.
Yeah, maybe you don't know. Somebody else put the quarter in the machine to play.
And then all goes to perception.
Yep.
One person's perception of another's life is different than the person actually living it, or another person looking in is going to be different than both of those previous. It all is perception. It's your own.
Right. Once you view it,
one person's beast is another person's beauty. But you know what?
Yeah,
I know, Joel. This is a fam.
No, that means it's a good chat.
This is what happens. It's I'm telling you. As soon as we really, thank you, the dog in the background that's been affirming all freaking night. I don't know what that dog's name is, but its name is. You are correct right now. But yeah,
it's Travie, but his full name is Traveler, which unfortunately is a 33. And like my dog names, I have all these. When I took my dog to the vet, they're like, "Do you have any dog that has a normal spelling?" My sister named him, but it ended up being a 33. All my dogs have master number frequencies because I have master number frequencies, and they absolutely could not coexist in my life, which is, like scattered all over the place. If they had to be like, my dog Serena the butterfly, the book has an H on the end. And I said, the reason it's not spelled the traditional way is because it would have made her an 8. She would have had to have the same food at the same time and have the same schedule. And, it's like I gave her a name that wasn't 11 because, it was like, we're going to do spiritual things. And that's what we did. So, yeah. So even naming your pets can have an influence on that kind of thing. So, yeah. So it figures he's the 33. He wants to get his sense worth in, but I do apologize. So,
well, yeah, no, I'll be honest. So I'm a big I love horticulture. Like I love growing plants, thriving, surviving, building within the constructs and stuff. So I have a pretty awesome, like massive, huge aquaponics setup in the other studio. 2 of my bigger fishes are named Confucius and Buddha. Yeah, now I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna have to like see what this spells out. But yeah, no, we have beyond gotten to that point, which is amazing. So here's the deal: is when we have individuals like you, where we get to this point, and it's just like, holy crap, has it already? Yeah, we will have you back on. We're going to get more in depth the next time. Yeah, this is gonna happen. But yeah, if you could, Rhonda, again, by all means, let's go ahead and shameless plug yourself out there. Yeah, your .com, whatever you want, do it right now.
Okay, go to rhondarife.com and you can scroll down at the very bottom and sign up to be included in the email list. But I don't necessarily do emails, but at least I'll have your contact information. Or you can just go and look at the page. It's Rhonda, RHONDA, Rife, REIF.com. Phone numbers there. All my other contact. Facebook's probably the best way to reach me, but you can still reach me through the website. My email is rhondarifemba at gmail.com. And I just want to let you know that I do all kinds of things, consulting on numbers and charts and classes and workshops and healings. And I have some retail products that are pretty cool that go with like the different numbers and colors and all of those kinds of things. And the thing is that, again, if you say that you contact me, that you saw this and you want to book some kind of a session, I'm giving everybody this particular free thing with the new quantum healing frequency machine that I will send that to you. And that's the free thing for if you book a session of either a healing session or having your chart done. So just tell me that you heard me on your show.
Yeah, again, we will pump that out in the descriptions, the post, the blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'm telling you, Ron, you're hooking us up. We're going to hook you up. That's how it happens.
We'll be talking again, I'm sure.
Oh, dude, that's why when we get to that point, we're just like, we really want to continue this. However,
this is why we don't do interviews, though.
But bro, this is why we have conversations.
None of this would have happened if we were running an interview.
Agreed, bro.
Do that shit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but yeah. So, that's how you can get a hold of you. If you want to get a hold of us, again, all 3 of us, new emails. We have the humans. Yeah, THEHUMANS at ITYstudios.com. Yeah, but we also have our individuals. We got Gemini.
GEMINI at ITYstudios.com.
Hey, he did that correct. He's been stuck on the old email address. We the past couple of episodes have been horrendous. But yeah, anyway, Philly DPHI at itystudios.com, as well as our fact checker.
You can catch me at MISSJD at itystudios.com.
But yeah, and as well as, we got to, roundguysbrewery.com. Yeah. While it hasn't been, it's been sponsored by, represented by, influenced by, roundguysbrewery.com. They actually give a crap about their community. So yeah, while they may produce alcohol, I'm going to go air quotes, alcohol or mind altering substances, they give a crap. Yeah, but they give a crap about their community, which is why they also have soda. Because, one of the big things with them is they do musical references and all that, and they have made a few beers for other local businesses. But they had a group come to them. They said, hey, we're straight edge. We don't drink. We don't smoke. We don't do drugs. We don't do anything. They're like, could you make us a soda? And we were like, well, hell yeah, we could. Round Guys gives a crap about their community. They made an entire soda just because they wanted to stay true to who they were, supporting their community. And they had a very awesome group. And they were just like, hey, this is what it is. And we're like, done, gonna do it. And they did it.
Lemonade soda.
Pink lemonade, froggy soda. I don't like soda.
Delicious.
I swear to God, I cannot stop you. It is addictive. But yeah, roundguysbrewery.com. Yeah, there's QR codes. They're going to hook you up. But yeah, no, this is, I'm telling you, man, this is what we do here. Rhonda, this has been an absolute pleasure. I cannot wait. I'm excited to do this again for the first time. What? For the second. We also like to travel and do some other things. We are looking to get out Midwest. We're doing some stuff down south soon. Like, we got some stuff in the works. Don't you shrug at me. We got shit in the works. When we get out your way, there's a few other cats we're going to hook up with, but we want to be able to do these kind of things in person because that's what we love doing. So
if we can.
No, not preferably. Happening.
I said preferably.
Happening.
You changed it, but
I'm going to diminish you by saying it's happening. There's not preferably. Yeah, I'm not here to be prayed. What we're saying is, Ron, what we did is dope. We are absolutely appreciative of what you did. Thank you so much for being on. Yes. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude, you again, when you reached out, the what I saw of you when I did my research, because that's how we are here. It's like, we want to take that time. We want to put that energy or intent into what we're doing. We're about being positive, loving, accepting of all things. All is one. We are inclusive. I don't care how you are, what you are. You can identify, signify, believe, blah, blah, blah. If we can have a discussion. We're on the
same wavelength. Yeah.
Dude, we are more than on the same wavelength.
On the same wavelength.
Yeah. But yeah, it has been an absolute pleasure. We thank you for your time. We appreciate your extra dog. It has been a very affirmative and
I'm sorry.
Oh, I love him.
JD's got dogs. We do. Yeah. Gemini's got. We know what it's like. I was ready to.
And he misses his mom, because she had to go to the nursing home. So that's part of it too, I think. He's been with me for several months. It's just that, it's been a transition for him too.
Anxiety.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
Separation anxiety.
I didn't hear what Gemini said. But
I said, you're going to go out there and suddenly it's going to be like, whatever.
That's how he is now. We're about done and now he's quiet. Yeah. So.
Well, see, but that's the thing is, if we do this in person, same said dog is in what's going to be sitting on one of our laps, calm, quiet, not going to say a single thing until we actually need affirmation from the universe. It's going to be like, we're aware that we were correct. Calm yourself. Yeah, but that's why it's like, you can apologize all you want. We're not going to accept it. This is how we do. This is how we roll. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, we have fun with it.
You never know what you're going to get other than the fact that it's going to be open, honest, raw, organic, accepting conversations. And we love, accept, appreciate, man, for real.
Word.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, fam, as always, we appreciate you so much. We thank you. Please reach out to us, do all that good stuff. But as always, be good to yourself. Be good to everything else.
Much love.
Peace.
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 Hold on. What? It's because I always shrink the screen. Who cares?